From the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Monday, November 25th. I'm Abby Larico. There could be thousands of insect species who communicate with vibrations, and scientists say we've only heard a small fraction of them.
Most of the sounds out there have never been heard by humans, and you can literally go into a backyard and hear a sound that no one has ever heard before.
We'll visit the Missouri professor who's spent years listening to insects and learn how his work is influencing other researchers. That story coming up after this news on The Gateway. The St. Louis Blues announced a coaching changeup over the weekend, firing head coach Drew Bannister and signing Jim Montgomery to take the helm. Bannister had officially taken the position in May after initially serving in an interim role. In a Sunday press conference announcing Montgomery's hiring, Blues general manager Doug Armstrong said he was preparing for the team to ride out what's been a tough start to the season so far with Bannister until learning Montgomery was available for the job. And Armstrong says Montgomery is what the team needs.
Was someone that I really do believe can coach this team and also coach the team when it reaches its ultimate level of competitiveness. He's done that. He's worked with younger players in the USHL and in college.
Montgomery is the former head coach of the Boston Bruins and was also the Blues' assistant coach from 2020 to 2022. Also in St. Louis sports leadership shakeups, sources tell ESPN that St. Louis City SC may have a new manager. The outlet is reporting that Olaf Mellberg has signed a multi-year deal with the team. Mellberg is currently the manager of a large Swedish team. As of Monday morning, St. Louis City SC has yet to confirm or deny the news. Dozens of protesters took to City Hall in downtown St. Louis Friday, demanding transparency from city leaders. This is after recent reports that 18 people have died at the city jail since 2020. St. Louis Public Radio's Lucretia Wembley reports.
Protesters from more than 20 justice advocacy organizations across the St. Louis region are chanting the names of those who have died in custody at the City Justice Center since 2020. Carlton Bernard was a 33-year-old detainee at the city jail last year who officials say died of natural causes. Mike Milton, executive director of the Freedom Community Center in St. Louis, says his death was preventable.
Carlton Bernard died because he did not have access to his diabetic medicine and insulin, and so this is clear that it is neglect.
Organizers say ultimately they want the facility closed for good. I'm Lucretia Wembley, St. Louis Public Radio.
A new report is pitching publicly financed elections in St. Louis County. The Honest Elections report suggests giving eligible county voters a $25 gift certificate they could donate to the candidate of their choice. The idea is to lessen the reliance on large donors who may have more influence over a candidate. University of Missouri St. Louis political science professor Anita Mannion helped work on the report. She acknowledged St. Louis County residents may be skeptical about public funds going toward elections.
Overcoming that, the funding of it is the biggest issue, but I think otherwise it would be very popular.
More about the Honest Elections proposal on the latest episode of the Politically Speaking Hour on St. Louis on the Air at stlpr.org. Missourians once again split this year between progressive ballot initiatives and GOP candidates. And as St. Louis Public Radio's Jason Rosenbaum reports, the reason why could come down to national political trends and money.
Missourians' voting behavior gained more attention this month after the passage of ballot items legalizing abortion and a GOP sweep for statewide and state legislative elections. This actually mirrors states like Nevada and Arizona, where the state's voters backed abortion initiatives and President-elect Donald Trump. GOP political consultant John Hancock says the yes side of the ballot initiatives typically have more money than candidates.
When the spending on a proposition is so disproportionate, the team that spends usually prevails. So I think that's part of it.
The campaign committee advocating for the abortion amendment raised more than $30 million, dwarfing groups that opposed it. I'm Jason Rosenbaum, St. Louis Public Radio.
The St. Louis Zoo welcomed a baby Asian elephant over the weekend. The zoo announced Jet was born Saturday morning. He's the grandson of Raja, who's famously the first Asian elephant born at the zoo. Jet's birth also makes history. He's the first elephant born at the zoo conceived via artificial insemination. It's part of a breeding program designed to boost an endangered population of Asian elephants. Jet and his mom, Jade, are said to be doing well and spending time bonding before meeting the rest of the herd. The zoo will announce plans for Jet's public debut in the coming months. Missouri deer hunters can put their extra venison toward a good cause. The Missouri Department of Conservation's Share the Harvest program partners with deer hunters and meat processors across the state to distribute meat to food banks and pantries. Dan Zarlinga is the St. Louis regional media specialist for the department. He says typically food banks and pantries get plenty of shelf-stable items.
But they don't get a lot of fresh protein and meat, and so this provides sort of a boon of fresh protein and meat during this time of year for these places, and then they're able to provide that to their patrons.
Meat processors who have partnered with Operation Food Search in the St. Louis region offer free or reduced cost processing. That includes Kenrick's Meats and Catering and John's Butcher Shop. Insects play a crucial role in ecosystems all around the world. Scientists say we still have much to discover. That includes how the tiny creatures talk to each other. More scientists are exploring insect vibrations as communication. And as Harvest Public Media's Hector Alejandra Arzate reports, a Missouri professor's research has been foundational to that study.
When you think of bug sounds, you probably hear buzzing and chirping, but there are thousands of insects that humans can't hear. Rex Cockcroft has made a career out of capturing their performances, and I got to hear them play live.
You're lucky because usually there's an observer effect, and if I try to show somebody what they're doing, they'll be completely quiet.
That melody is coming from a species called treehoppers. Well, sort of. Those are actually vibrations, which Cockcroft says are so tiny that you could touch a leaf with your finger and not feel anything. But by borrowing from his fellow musicians, he is a pianist after all, Cockcroft can capture what they're saying using music equipment. He clips a tiny microphone onto a plant stem. The treehopper's little vibrations are then amplified through a small speaker.
That's it. You can see it. It's very simple. And now we're listening to these insects talking to each other.
Cockcroft is a researcher at the University of Missouri in Columbia, and for the past 30 years, his work has helped scientists better understand how these insects communicate. And with more than 3,000 species of treehoppers across 6 continents, there's a lot being said.
Most of the sounds out there have never been heard by humans, and you can literally go into a backyard in Missouri and hear a sound that no one has ever heard before. And it might be something rather strange and interesting that no one has ever heard before.
It's called insect vibrational communication. In treehoppers, they vibrate different parts of their bodies, which are transmitted onto plant stems. Those are shared with other treehoppers who tell one another where to find the best food and to warn about predators. Cockcroft has been a pioneer in this research. Now, other scientists are finding practical applications, like at Oregon State University, where researchers are using robots to mimic insect sounds to protect vineyards from pests. At St. Louis University, Casey Fowler-Finn and her colleagues are trying to understand how climate change could impact insect populations.
And we look at how it affects the rates of mating, how it affects how they sound, and whether they can still detect each other, even though temperature makes animals sound different.
Fowler-Finn, who considers Cockcroft a mentor, says they're using the chirping rates of crickets as a sort of thermometer because vibrations are faster at hotter temperatures. Rafa Rodriguez also studied with Cockcroft. The University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee professor says his research was inspired in part by the first time he heard treehoppers.
That just blew my mind. It was like the first time you go snorkeling underwater, and then this whole new universe, this whole new dimensions of color and corals kind of open up. It was like that, but in sound.
Now he studies insect communication and the memories and predatory behavior of spiders. Cockcroft's work has also inspired researchers far beyond the Midwest. That includes Sam England, a postdoctoral scientist at the Natural History Museum in Berlin, Germany. He's actually in Australia right now doing fieldwork.
If you hear any animal sounds in the background, that is why.
Like others, Inkland says he's learned a lot from Cockcroft, from his research contributions to even sharing specimens. So when Inkland and his team discovered a new species of treehopper in Costa Rica, they named it Cladonota rex in his honor.
He's really fleshed out this field in a way that certainly deserved acknowledgement.
Cockcroft is humble about the recognition, and he points out, so far researchers have found just the one single Cladonota rex.
So I don't know if there's any chance for me to go out and see one, but it's a beautiful insect, and it was an honor to have it named after me.
Ultimately, he hopes more people will take interest in insects and figuring out just how and what they're communicating. I'm Hector Alejandro Arzate, Harvest Public Media.
Harvest Public Media is a collaboration of public media newsrooms in the Midwest and Great Plains, including STL PR. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri-St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Abby Larico, and from the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway.